Is it kind of surreal now to think that, like, potentially one day that you could be lifting a Stanley Cup over your head? Like,
Yeah, it's a dream for sure.
Right.
But, I mean, it just comes down to day by day.
What up, guys? Welcome to the first ever podcast with a guest, actually. Featured guest is Chase Cheslock. Welcome aboard, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chase, tell us a little about yourself. So, first of all, thank you for coming on the podcast. We tried to do it a couple weeks ago. It didn't end up working out. I know it's a lot. It takes a lot of time out of your day. You're a busy guy, obviously. We're all busy. Appreciate you coming back out.
Yeah,
It'll,
thanks for having me.
Like you said, it'll be worth it, and we can make it a lot better than we did last time. So, yeah, thanks for coming out. But who's Chase Cheslock? Obviously, you're young. You're 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who are you? Why are you? Who's Chase Cheslock?
I'm Chase. I just graduated Rogers High School. I played 3 years of varsity hockey there. I'm gonna go down and play a year juniors in the USHL with the Omaha Lancers, and I'm committed to play college hockey at University of St. Thomas.
When did you commit to play at the U, or I guess University of St. Thomas?
I committed this October.
So last, or
Yeah.
would it be last October? This past October? Yeah.
October,
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So what was kind of your driving factor to go to St. Thomas instead of anywhere else?
As soon as I stepped on campus, it was like I knew immediately I wanted to be here.
Right.
It's kind of the culture they wanted to bring to the program and the culture they were building, and then just stepping foot on campus with my family and all the coaches, it was like I wanted to be here.
Right. Did you get to meet any of the players on the team?
Yeah,
currently,
we ran into like 3-4 guys while they were just going about their day, going to classes, and they were just having so much fun, and just being at St. Thomas was just their dream. So
friendly guys are kind of like stuck
guys.
up. Right.
Great guys.
Are a lot of them from Minnesota?
Yeah, I'd say most of the guys are from Minnesota.
Yeah. Gotcha. Have you met a lot of them before knowing they went to St. Thomas, like playing them against in high school?
No, because they're a little bit older than me, the guys that we ran into. But now that I'm committed there, running into them now is more common.
Have you done training camps there yet, or like spring training with anybody there?
No, I haven't gone down there yet for training or weightlifting or anything like that. I've kind of been doing my own thing by where I live.
For sure.
Did Brock go with you?
No, Brock was not with me.
Really?
No, just my mom and dad.
Is Brock a big St. Thomas guy too? Does he like it?
Yeah.
Right. So Brock is Chase's younger brother. Yep. How old's Brock?
Brock's 15.
Gotcha. So
he's going into high school.
16.
He'll be a sophomore in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like high school, like hockey.
School,
yeah.
Right. That's crazy. Is that weird to think about, like, for you, having a younger brother? Like, I know for me it's weird seeing my younger brother be a senior in high school this year. I know for you it's a little weird.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Like go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's nuts. Like, he's starting to drive now. He's got his permit.
Yeah, that's scary for sure.
Is scary.
Like, physically scary, yeah. Like I said, I just think it's weird because it makes me feel a little bit older and like, oh, yeah, I am out of high school. Like, I have an adult job and things like that. Like, it's just, it kind of sinks into your body a little bit more knowing that your younger brother's going to be a senior in high school and whatnot. But you have a couple years still. I mean, I know he's starting to drive and become more mature, but so you graduated from Rogers High School just this past spring. Mm-hmm. What was your experience like at the high school level?
High school hockey was so much fun. I mean, I loved it, every minute of it. I had opportunities to leave my senior year, but I just couldn't. Like, my class or my group of friends, we were just so close, and we wanted to go to the state tournament. But
for sure, and the Minnesota State Tournament is just an unbelievable experience. Like, I don't think anybody in Minnesota, unless you're crazy, have a crazy offer to go play somewhere, like, would skip out on the opportunity to do that. Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. What's your thoughts on that, Nate? Would you skip out senior year to go play somewhere when you have an opportunity?
I mean, if I got an opportunity to go play in the state championship, I'm taking that any day of the week.
Right. I mean, that stadium's sold out on what is Saturday or is it Sunday?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just the experience and the atmosphere to go through something like that. I mean, it'd be incredible.
Right. I mean,
especially at 15, 16, 17 years old.
Right. I mean, you're playing in front of almost 20,000 people probably. I mean, that Andover championship game was sold out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. But when did you start playing high school hockey? Because you were young. You were like a sophomore when you started, right?
Yeah, I started playing my sophomore year. So I didn't play a single game of JV, which I'm fortunate enough to say.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of kids that aren't, and that's super cool to say. I mean, you worked your ass off to get there. So what was it nerve-wracking being that young and playing high school hockey?
Well, I was really excited my first game. It was COVID year, so it was going to be a shortened season.
Right.
But our first game was against Andover, and they had Garrett Shifsky, and that was the most humbling game.
Oh, for sure.
He had 3 goals before we knew what the score was.
Yeah, that's nuts. Obviously, like piggybacking off of being nerve-wracking, you're a bigger kid. You've always been bigger. Were you scared about the size of some of the kids out there, or were you kind of knew you were bigger, you would be able to hold your own kind of?
At that age, I was still trying to figure out my own body, so I couldn't really compare myself to anyone else because I still hadn't learned how to use my own body.
Exactly, right. And that's probably the hardest thing. I was talking to Nate about this earlier, is like hockey, I think it was you, but hockey's such an unnatural sport. Like trying to skate, that's why nobody's really good at it, because you have to, you just got to figure out a way how to do it, and it's just unnatural.
Anybody can run, dude.
Right,
like,
anybody.
Learning how to skate, it's so hard. I mean, like, look at some of the NHL guys. They barely know how they can skate.
I mean, look at Ryden Reeves or
right?
Some of those goons that are out there. Yeah, they just barely balance on their feet.
But
so after sophomore season is when you kind of picked it up, would you say? Or what year did you say you kind of picked it up and kind of got with the flow of your body and everything else?
I started getting a little bit bigger my junior year, and then I finally felt really comfortable in my body my senior year, I'd say.
How big are you now? How tall are you?
Like 6'3", 205 pounds.
Jesus Christ. That's double my size, dude. Absolutely doubled. So junior year, was that good for you? Obviously, like you were talking about earlier, you had a chance to go leave senior year and play somewhere. Was that, I can't think of the word. Like, did you think about it, or was it just a deciding factor? Like, no, I'm staying here.
Yeah, it never wavered in my mind.
Right.
I was going to stay my senior year.
Right. Yeah. So senior year rolls around. Walk us through senior year, being a student athlete, like starting to get more notice. Like, you're possibly going to play junior hockey. You're going to play, college hockey, possibly the NHL. What's going on with that?
Well, the NHL had never crossed my mind at that point. My senior year, I was just. The off season going into my senior year, I was just so focused on getting myself prepared to help my team as much as possible go to the state tournament. I wasn't thinking about myself individually at all.
Focus on task at hand.
Yeah, because I wanted to go to the state tournament so bad. I think every other kid in Minnesota does. So that was my main focus, is just I'm working my body so I can help my teammates accomplish our goal, because that was everyone's goal going into the season.
Oh, for sure.
But so my senior year, I actually did online school, because I played juniors in St. Cloud before in the North American League, and then I went down to Omaha after the season in the United States Hockey League.
Right.
So and the way our school set up is I couldn't take online and then come back into school and then go back online. I had to stay all online.
Right. You couldn't alter between the two. Was that difficult for you? I guess making friendships or keeping friendships and throughout high school, because you're still a normal kid. You're not. Yeah, you're a draftee in the NHL and a junior hockey player, but you still have friendships just like any other guy in high school.
Exactly. Well, yes and no to your question. So right away it was really hard, the thought of it, and getting down to the dog days where everyone else is in school and they can really lean on each other during the day. I was kind of at home and you're stuck in the basement doing your homework. But
right.
No, it was really good for me. It proved really beneficial, and I just stuck with it. Anything you want, it's going to be hard. So I kind of just stuck with it. But you always can rely on your buddies. Playing in St. Cloud, I lived from home, so it was just an hour commute.
Right.
But I was still at home, so I could still get around and see my buddies. And
right. You weren't too far away where, if you wanted to go see a movie or something, or, go play pond hockey with your boys, you could. Yeah, that's a good point, I guess. I just feel like sometimes some of those players get too disconnected from their friendships and families like that, and they get too focused on hockey, and then they lose that hometown friendship. But it's good to have, obviously, that family bond with your team, but then it's just sad to see other, friends go that and things like that. But
yeah, it's all about having balance.
Right, exactly. Do you think you're good at balancing that kind of stuff?
I would say I've gotten a little bit better over time.
Right.
One of my problems was sometimes I'd overtrain, and then you'd get way too tired, and then your training wouldn't be as beneficial or as efficient. So you just got to learn to have balance in your life as a whole, friends, family, hockey, and then things you like to do for fun, and then still figuring out how to learn something new.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you say? Obviously, you said you played different junior leagues in the NAHL and then USHL. Is there a big difference between those two, or is it pretty similar all around?
I wouldn't say it's a big difference. I'd say it's pretty similar, just different just different leagues, different types of teams, different types of players.
Right.
I mean, you're going to find that everywhere you go.
Exactly.
But I had a great time in both, and I'm looking forward to another year in the USHL.
Right. That should be fun. Are you close with a lot of those guys down there?
I wasn't as much last year because it was kind of weird the way I came in. I was expecting to come a week after the season, have a week, get my affairs in order.
Okay.
But then coach wanted me to come down early, so I packed up, left as soon as I could.
Yeah.
But then I came back for a few days for banquets and award ceremonies and be with my buddies and kind of close the year.
High school season out. Yeah.
Yep. And then I went back down, and we were kind of in a spot where everyone, I wouldn't say, kind of want to say that it was kind of, we were in a bad spot. Like, we weren't really in a playoff spot, so everyone was kind of dead. But
in Omaha?
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone had been so close together. Like, I was just coming in for the last few games. So
trying to get your feet wet in the junior league a little bit.
I'm really excited to be with the guys going into this season. New group, fresh blood. And
for sure.
Just a fresh start.
How long are you able to play in that league? Because some leagues have, like, age-out limits, right?
Yeah. So USHL and the North American League have age-outs.
Okay.
Kind of depends on your birthday. I don't know the rules exactly, but you can't be playing in the league over 21.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
So that's kind of your limit that's the max you can be.
So I know this year for the USHL, it's 03 birth years.
Right. So that's kind of their last years to play in that. Gotcha. Touching back on, like, high school and then juniors and kind of connecting the two. When you were junior and senior, you played in 2 section championships, the first ever for the high school. What were those experiences like, knowing that Rogers High School has never been to those areas in hockey?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about it looking back now, but at the time, I mean, you were part of that group our junior year. Like, we were just so set on our goal. Like, we want to beat those guys, and you weren't really thinking about anything else.
Right.
Which was crazy to think because there was so much going on. Like,
oh, my God.
You could have got absorbed into anything else going around the game.
Easily.
And
the emotions in those games are so high. I mean, it's totally different in my opinion. Like, you played junior hockey too.
Yeah.
So what are the emotions like compared from high school to, like, juniors? Like, do you think different leagues vary? Obviously, like, shitty junior leagues, they're probably less emotional because they're just there to kind of play. But I guess, like, higher level, like Omaha and, St. Cloud and things like that, like, they're a little bit more into it, where, like, high school players are into it a little bit more. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I got goosebumps just talking about those section championship games.
Right.
But, like, juniors is, like, Minnesota, I don't think people in Minnesota know how unique high school hockey is.
Right.
It's just so much different than everywhere else.
It's because we grow up with it. Like, it just seems like a secondhand nature to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in juniors, some of these cities and some of these organizations have the same amount of passion, if not more, than, like, a high school community, like backing their teams and traveling to follow their teams.
And I guess some of those cities are, like, that hockey team's all that they have. Like, they don't have, like, a high school football team or things like that. So, like, that's kind of the only thing that they can support.
Yeah. I mean, junior's just crazy, dude. I remember I went down to play North Iowa when I was playing for St. Cloud. And they threw beer cans at us as we were leaving the ice rink when we won. I'm like, you don't see that in, like, Minnesota, like, high school hockey. It's just, it's completely different.
They don't sell beer at Minnesota.
Yeah, but, like even so, I was like, what in the world is going on?
Right.
So I was crazy. I think I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And they were just hucking beer cans at us. I'm like, what are they doing?
They just care.
It's nuts. That's all they have. Like, it's funny. It's just it's a small town. It's North Iowa.
Right.
It's just a small little town and
Mason City, right?
Yeah, Mason City. Yeah. That's all they have there, and it was an incredible experience. Don't get me wrong. But I was just like, oh my Lord, what is going on right now?
Oh, for sure.
But
I guess what I'm kind of going at is, like, was it easier for you? I don't want to say was it easier for you to lose, but, like, when you did lose, like, that next day, knowing that, like, you can still put your skates on the next day and go play hockey somewhere competitive, was it a relief or more of, like, shit, this is kind of over? Like, this part of my life is done, but it's time to
it hurt super bad not making it either year.
Mm-hmm.
Like junior year, because our junior class and our senior class that year were so tight. Like, we wanted it for each other.
For sure.
And then my senior year, it hurt even worse because you don't have that next shot. Like, you don't get another shot at it. It definitely hurt really bad. But then again, just like any other thing that hurts, like the next day is still going to come. Like you still got to wake up and shake it off and go about your day.
Yeah. Right. And like you're saying, that both those classes, like your junior year and our senior year, like we're just super close because we've been playing for 6-7 years together. And it's super cool to see how that chemistry just grows over the years. Some people, like you lose a couple kids throughout just because they're going to play other ways or they just fall out of love for hockey. But it's just like that one group of kids that gets to stay together. It makes it so much better. And then when you get a second chance to do it your senior year, like you just can't miss on it. And you got to enjoy all of it. But so after high school, like you said, juniors hockey, when did you get recruited to play college hockey? Where did you start out, or what was your like first contact from college hockey?
I think the first time I talked to a college team was probably around Thanksgiving my junior year of high school.
Right.
When I was playing in the Elite League.
Okay.
Elite League was great exposure. I mean, so many great hockey players out there. Yeah. A lot of scouts, but that was probably the first time I talked to a college hockey team.
Really?
My first ever Elite game, I was watching, I think it was Sam, and Bob Motzko's son was their goalie.
Yeah, he was our goalie.
And I just turn around and I just see Bob Motzko behind me. I'm like, there's exposure right there.
Right.
The U of M head coach just standing watching kids. I mean, it's huge exposure, like you said. So it's a great opportunity. So
were you in shock, I guess, like finding out that like you could play college after high school, like when you got that contact from St. Thomas and like they sent you an offer, like they offered you to come play for their school?
Yeah, like when St. Thomas offered me, it was an absolute shock.
Right.
Like I always felt that I was gonna play hockey after high school. I just wasn't that clear in my mind.
Right.
Like you obviously never know what the future is gonna hold. So it was a shock and like an honor.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's nuts to think about. And they're just a fresh D1 school, right? Like just last couple of years they just switched. Yeah, do you think the competition level will change? Or has changed?
Yeah, I think like what they've been doing so far, what Coach Blasi's done, and everyone on the staff is like they're gonna keep building and keep building and keep building. It's gonna be a program everyone's gonna want to be a part of.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, they're growing every day, and everybody loves St. Thomas. I don't think I've heard anybody say anything bad about St. Thomas.
I mean, they're getting a sweet new rink. So
right. Yeah, you can't complain about that. Are you pretty pumped to play for that?
I'm super pumped for that.
You're kind of going in at the right time because it'll be done like your sophomore, junior year.
Yeah,
right?
Sophomore year, hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be sick. You have a good couple of years to play in there.
So obviously, you got drafted in the NHL. Like, let's talk about that experience. Like, I'm sure when you were little, like the ultimate goal was to like go play in the NHL. Like, when did you like think like, okay, like this is like actually doable? Like when do you think that hit you?
I wouldn't say it like really hit me until I got to development camp. Okay. Honestly, it didn't feel real until I stepped foot in New Jersey. Like I'm a part of a professional organization as an amateur,
right?
And just getting there, stepping foot in a different city by myself for the first time, it's kind of like, oh.
Right. I mean, like traveling and playing hockey with like club teams and things like that. Like it's cool, like your parents are with you and like you're staying in the same hotel as your parents. But like you said, being there by yourself with a professional environment, like that's just got to be the most surreal experience ever, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't hit me that I had been drafted even until I got to Newark.
Right.
And it all just came in and hit me at once, and then it's like, all right, let's just have a good week. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Walk us through the process of like getting drafted. So like obviously you have to have an agent and things like that to like help you manage the process of it and things like that. So what was kind of like step by step, not necessarily in order, but step by step, how was the process of like getting drafted?
Well, I mean, it all starts with you, your game. You have to prove to yourself and prove to scouts in the stands. And for me, mine was just a process. I think teams had been watching me throughout the season, and then when I got to Omaha, things really ramped up because things were getting closer to the draft too. So
right,
did you talk to a lot of coaches?
Yeah, well, not coaches, but scouts. A lot of interviews. They want to know what you're like as a person. That's just as important, if not for me. If I was a scout, it'd be even more important than the talent they see on the ice because they want to have good kids in their organization, competitors, kids that love the game.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to bring in some kid who's just a cocky little, guy who thinks he's the best and, kind of ruins the environment for everybody else. You want that chemistry to bond and work together. So
yeah, definitely. That was definitely a part of it. Like some personality and psychology quizzes were a part of my process.
Really?
See if you'd be a good fit for the organization.
Did you ever think that would be a part of the process? Or did it seem kind of weird for you to think about it that way?
I wouldn't say it was weird. It was definitely different, though, because it's something I'd never been exposed to.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely different. But what do you think, like, New Jersey's, I guess, chemistry is over there? Like, what is their goal? Why did New Jersey draft you out of anybody in the world?
Their big things compete.
Right.
Like, compete every day. Competing's like breathing over there, as it should be everywhere. If you want to succeed, you have to compete. And I think I bring a lot of compete to the table. I think all the guys in that organization do, from the GM, the owners, all the way down to the players and the staff. Everyone has to compete. Everyone wants to compete, and I think that was a big component of it.
Yeah. Right.
So obviously you got a phone call, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through that. How did that kind of go?
Well, the funny story is I was just going about my day. I got home from the weight room in the rink, and we had the TV on because we had kind of been thinking that I could go late in like the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
Probably I was thinking later than that just because didn't want to get my hopes up too high.
Stay humble. I like it.
But then my family advisor called and he goes, "All right, I think you're gonna go right here to San Jose." And sure enough, San Jose pops up and they pick Eric Polkamp, another Minnesota guy, and he goes, he calls me back, he goes, "My bad. Keep your phone on though." So,
did your heart kind of sink when like you get that phone call? Like I guess like before,
right away.
Like,
I was just going out to my car and he goes, "Chase, go turn on the TV," and I go, "Oh," and then it was like, and then I just go, "All right, I'm just gonna go to work and just keep going about my day."
Yep.
So I get in my car, go to work, and as soon as I step out of my car, my agent goes, "All right, this one's for you. You just got drafted by the New Jersey Devils." And I go, "Awesome." So I walk into work and I tell the receptionist, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to work today. I got something came up." So I went back home and talked it with my parents, and everyone was so emotional. It was such a great moment. And
did you have, I guess, grandparents and other family members there, or just mom, dad, and brother?
Mom, dad, Brock.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good little moment to share with your family.
Exactly.
I mean, you guys all go through it together. I mean,
Yeah.
even Brock being a hockey player, he understands the hard work you guys put in. But yeah, that's just an unbelievable experience. Like I said, your heart had to have just sunk.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then right after, it's going 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
You're so excited.
So how quick is the process from, obviously it's a couple weeks, but like how quick is the process from like getting drafted to like getting your stuff into New Jersey and like setting up for development camp and going through development camp and things like that?
Well, New Jersey does such a great job. I don't remember exactly when the draft was. I think it was probably late June.
I think it was like June.
And then our development camp was right after the 4th of July, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and everything was set up. All we had to do was bring our stuff and come in and play.
Right.
Everything else was taken care of for us. Like our days were planned out from the moment we got to the rink to the moment we left.
You didn't have to think about anything but playing hockey. You didn't have to think
about anything but competing.
Right. What was the favorite thing you did besides play hockey in New Jersey?
I think my favorite thing was going on the Hudson River.
Right.
Because you obviously hear about New York City.
Yep.
And we got to go on the Hudson around New York City under the Brooklyn Bridge and by the Statue of Liberty. Right. And it's obviously something like growing up, you hear about the Statue of Liberty, you read about in your textbooks and New York City and how big of a city is. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea until I'd actually got there.
And it's one of those things where like those national monuments, I guess you don't really appreciate them until you're 18, 19, 20 years old. Because like, I guess for me, like an example, as I just went to South Dakota this weekend and saw the Four Faces.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. It was on the top of my head. Four Faces. That's what it is, like great state, great faces or something like that. But anyways, so like we're there and they did like this whole thing with like a couple soldiers and things like that. And it's like when I was 12 years old, I didn't want to look at faces on a rock. But now, like being older, I understand why it's there, and like it makes more sense. Do you think you kind of noticed that, and like looking at the Statue of Liberty and things like that, like you appreciated it a little more?
Yeah, definitely the Statue of Liberty. But I think if I was even 12 going to see New York City, like I'd still have the same excitement I did when I saw it for the first time.
Right. Yeah, it's super cool. God, that's nuts.
What was like the difference that you like kind of noticed the most, like on ice, from like playing juniors, high school, and then obviously going to like a development camp?
I know it's super cliche to say, but bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
But I'd say the biggest thing is smarter.
Really?
Because everyone has been playing at a high level, and they all think the game at such a high level.
Right. They all think a little bit faster.
Yeah. If you're not thinking one step ahead, you're already one step behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Was there a lot of people that stood out to you, I guess, from your your level of play? Like, were there a lot of people like burning you around the outside, or like were you able to keep up with the pace of the game?
I could keep up with the pace for the most part. I think it's one of those things that comes with comfort. Like,
Right.
I was a little bit out of my comfort zone.
For sure.
And I was fine with that because I went to it wanting to get out of my comfort zone.
Right.
But some of these guys, their fast for me is their comfort zone right now.
Right.
And that's something that like motivates you a little bit more and entices
sure.
you to try and get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what juniors is for. You'll be able to build your speed and your mental game up, and then when you do get to the NHL level, you'll be able to compete and, be better than those guys that are faster than you, and you'll be able to keep up with them a little bit more, right?
Yeah, hopefully that's the goal.
Right, exactly. So
unreal.
is it kind of surreal now to think that like potentially one day that you could be lifting a Stanley Cup over your head? Like,
Yeah, it's a dream for sure.
Right.
But I mean, it just comes down to day by day.
Right.
Don't want to get too far ahead of your skis or start thinking crazy or let your ego get in the way. You just kind of want to go about your day. Like, recently, I'm just like any other high schooler. Like, I'm sad to see all my buddies leave, go for college.
Yeah.
But I'm super happy for it.
Right.
I'm in a good spot.
Right. Yeah, you should be
enjoying it.
Yeah, you should be. And like you said, it's hard to see all your buddies go to school. I mean, I did it last year for the first time. This is my second year not doing it. You're kind of done with that. All your buddies are kind of done with school.
Yeah, most of them are done.
Yeah.
I got a few that are going back, but
yeah. But like it sucks being that like summertime you get to hang out with them and you get that connection back, and then it feels like just by the time you get all that, enjoyment back
up.
Yeah, exactly. Then they all have to go back to school and they're going 4 or 5 hours away, and it's too far for like a day trip, but it's like it's just in reach, I guess.
Like, you're always going to have those guys in your corner, and you're always going to be really good buddies. It's just different because you're not going to be able to just go like take a 10-minute drive and you're all together.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can't just call up the boys like, hey, tea time 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that definitely sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, just going day by day and trying to, live life the way you can and enjoy it. I think that's the best way that you could go about it. That's unreal. And you've always been a humble kid. Like, you've never been over your heels. What's one big thing that you're really looking forward to in like the future, I guess, for like just within this next fall, this winter?
I'm just really excited to like play games again.
Right. Be competitive.
Be competitive because you miss out on it all summer. But the summer is a good time to just focus on yourself and focus on what you need to do. But yeah, for me, it's just I want to get back in. I want to start playing games again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Best advice you can give somebody that's younger than you are, that's probably trying to, whether it's get drafted, play in the NHL, play college, play juniors, make it to a state championship, like even just make the high school team. What's a few things that you think worked for you and you think would work for a few other kids too?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a cliche, but like trust the process.
Right.
And stay in your own lane. Like, not a bad way, but trust your process and stay in your own lane. Like, if you think what you're doing is right, just trust it and keep doing it consistently. Stay disciplined, and you don't have to worry about what other people are doing because everyone has a different path.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one big thing that I've come to understand, and I'm still trying to understand it because everyone struggles with it sometime, but just trusting your own process and staying with it. Try not to let what someone else does affect you or make you want to change your plans or change your process. But I think just trusting your process and staying disciplined with it too. That's another big thing.
Yeah. Discipline is huge.
Staying with it every day.
Yeah. I saw a quote. It's like, it's just like driving, right? If you look over to the right lane and you're going to start drifting off of your lane. Like, if you focus on your lane and you're doing your thing, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing around you because they're all doing their own thing.
Exactly. I think it's such a especially with social media now.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get off track, or you start getting jealous or envy of what other people are doing.
Easily.
I think for me, it was just putting my head down and going to work. I think
For sure.
it doesn't sound hard to do, but it's the simple things.
Yeah.
Just the simple things.
For sure. Yeah, well, we're hitting that minute mark. Chase, like I said, really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I had a blast.
It was awesome.
It's always good to see you guys.
Yeah. If you guys enjoy these short podcasts or things like that, or want to hear a little bit more about Chase's story, just let us know. We can, we always have time to do a second podcast or a part 2 with Chase. I don't think you have a problem coming back.
That'd be awesome.
But yeah, appreciate everybody listening in. And yeah, anything else, Nate?
That's it. Thanks, Chase. Appreciate everything.
Thanks, boys.
Look forward to it.